For years, the legend grew. A force of nature, a specimen of unparalleled power, Francis the Predator Ngannou carved a path of destruction through the UFC's heavyweight division, leaving a trail of unconscious giants in his wake. He was more than a champion. He was an event, a phenomenon. His knockouts weren't just victories, they were seismic shifts in the very landscape of combat sports. Each thunderous blow echoed beyond the cage, resonating with millions who witnessed his raw, unfiltered dominance. He was the king, the undisputed sovereign of heavyweights, a man whose presence alone could send shivers down the spines of even the most hardened competitors. Then, just as his reign seemed destined for immortality, the unthinkable happened. A fracture, a schism. The king walked away. The departure was as shocking as his meteoric rise, a bold gamble, a defiant statement against the very institution that had forged his legend. He sought new challenges, new freedoms, new avenues to conquer, stepping into the unforgiving squared circle of professional boxing, challenging the lineal heavyweight champion of the world, and even making a groundbreaking move to the PFL. His journey continued, albeit on a different path, away from the familiar canvas of the UFC Octagon. The heavyweight throne he vacated remained a source of intense debate, momentarily filled by other titans. But for many, the shadow of Ngannou loomed large, an unfillable void at the pinnacle of the division. But what if the story isn't over? What if the greatest heavyweight anomaly in UFC history isn't just contemplating a return, but actively engaging in discussions that could shatter the current equilibrium of combat sports? Whispers have grown into roars, rumors into a deafening clamor across the globe. Breaking news, not just a fleeting headline, but a tectonic shift in the very foundations of the fighting world, suggests that Francis Ngannou, the man who dared to walk away, might be contemplating a comeback. The implications are staggering. The potential matchups are legendary. The very fabric of the heavyweight division, indeed the entire UFC landscape, could be irrevocably altered by a single decision from the Predator. Imagine the roar of the crowd, amplified 1,000-fold, as his name is announced once more within the hallowed confines of the Octagon. Picture the contenders, currently vying for their own place in history, suddenly facing the specter of a man who redefined brutality. This isn't just a rumor, it's a potential revolution. It's a narrative twist so monumental, so utterly captivating, that it transcends the typical sports story. It's about redemption, about unfinished business, about the ultimate what-if scenario unfolding before our very eyes. Is the Predator truly coming home? Is the king reclaiming his throne? The question hangs heavy in the air, charged with anticipation, pregnant with possibility. And if Ngannou's potential return wasn't enough to electrify the fight world, imagine adding another layer of unprecedented matchups to the mix. Picture the lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev, potentially eyeing a super fight with a former welterweight king, Kamaru Usman. Envision the chaotic brilliance of Justin Gaethje colliding with the relentless pressure of Arman Tsarukyan. This isn't just a busy news cycle. It's an unprecedented alignment of the stars, a convergence of colossal confrontations that could define an era. The gears are turning, the pieces are shifting, and the UFC is on the precipice of an absolutely explosive future. This is breaking news that transcends the headlines. This is the very pulse of combat sports beating faster than ever before. Brace yourselves, because the unthinkable might just become reality. And when it does, nothing will ever be the same.
To understand the potential magnitude of Francis Ngannou's rumored return, we must first revisit the seismic event of his departure. It wasn't merely a fighter leaving an organization, it was a champion, arguably the most powerful heavyweight in UFC history, severing ties in a blaze of controversy and defiance. The narrative spun by the UFC was often one of an uncooperative athlete demanding too much, unwilling to compromise. Dana White, the ubiquitous face of the promotion, frequently painted a picture of an impossible negotiation, citing Ngannou's alleged unwillingness to sign a new deal that included specific fight clauses and extensions. The public conversation was dominated by soundbites hinting at Ngannou's unreasonable demands, creating an atmosphere of discord that ultimately led to his release from his contract and the forfeiture of his heavyweight title. However, Ngannou's perspective painted a vastly different picture. For the Predator, this wasn't solely about the immediate monetary gain, though that was undoubtedly a significant factor. It was about principle. It was about control. It was about setting a precedent for fighter empowerment within a sport notorious for its restrictive contracts. Ngannou spoke candidly about wanting better health insurance for all fighters, not just himself, a concept that had long been a contentious point for many athletes. He pushed for the right to secure his own individual sponsorships, a privilege largely stripped away by the UFC's exclusive Reebok and then Venom deals. Most crucially, he sought the freedom to explore opportunities outside the UFC Octagon, specifically a lucrative crossover boxing match, without the promotion acting as an intermediary or gatekeeper. His departure wasn't a rash decision. It was a calculated risk, a stand taken on behalf of what he perceived as fundamental rights for professional athletes. He was betting on himself, on his own star power, to forge a new path where he had more agency over his career and financial future. This was not a quiet exit. It was a loud declaration of independence, sending shockwaves through the entire industry. Critics questioned his sanity, arguing he was throwing away guaranteed millions in the pinnacle of MMA stardom. Supporters lauded his courage, seeing him as a trailblazer fighting for systemic change. In the vacuum left by Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight division for a time felt adrift. The championship bout between Jon Jones and Ciryl Gane, while a spectacle in its own right, struggled to fully escape the shadow of the Predator's absence. Jones, an undisputed legend, claimed the title, cementing his status, yet the asterisk of Ngannou's voluntary exit lingered for many. Tom Aspinall emerged as an interim champion, further diversifying the landscape, but the question persisted: what if Ngannou had stayed? What would the division look like now? His ghost, so to speak, continued to haunt the top of the heavyweight rankings, a constant reminder of the unfinished business. Ngannou's subsequent journey into professional boxing, facing the likes of Tyson Fury, was a testament to his ambition and the power of his self-advocacy. While the official record shows a loss, his performance against one of boxing's greatest heavyweights shocked the world, proving his elite athleticism transcended disciplines and validating his decision to seek out such opportunities. His PFL contract, widely reported to offer unprecedented terms for a major MMA organization, further underscored his commitment to fighter rights and control over his career. This was not a man who failed after leaving the UFC. This was a man who proved his worth, built his brand, and demonstrated that there could be a viable, lucrative path for fighters outside the UFC's often restrictive ecosystem. Now, with the potential of a return, the narrative shifts yet again. The why of his departure gives way to the how and what now of his potential comeback, promising a truly unprecedented chapter in the saga of Francis Ngannou.
In the 2 years since Francis Ngannou vacated the UFC Heavyweight Championship, the division has undergone a fascinating evolution. It's a landscape of established legends and surging new forces, a testament to the perpetual motion of combat sports. Jon Jones, widely considered the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, seized the undisputed throne, effortlessly dispatching Ciryl Gane to claim his second divisional title. His reign, however, has been marked by relative inactivity, with a highly anticipated clash against a returning legend, Stipe Miocic, consistently postponed, leaving an undeniable void at the very top. Jones's mystique remains, his tactical brilliance unmatched, but the division yearns for regular championship defenses, for a clear line of succession. Into this void stepped Tom Aspinall, the dynamic British sensation who captured the interim heavyweight title with a blistering performance against Sergey Pavlovich. Aspinall represents the new breed, fast, agile, technically proficient, with genuine one-punch knockout power. He embodies the future, a stark contrast to the seasoned veterans. His victory ignited a furious debate. Should he be the one to challenge Jones next, or should the long-promised Miocic fight take precedence? The division is rich with talent. Pavlovich's raw power, Curtis Blades' suffocating wrestling, Jailton Almeida's relentless grappling, each vying for their shot at glory, each believing they hold the key to the heavyweight crown. The ecosystem is vibrant, competitive, and undeniably exciting, but it exists under the unspoken understanding that its former king remains outside its walls. Now, imagine this carefully constructed ecosystem suddenly facing the prospect of Ngannou's return. The immediate question: where does he fit? His standing as a lineal champion, albeit in another promotion, and his undeniable star power would demand an immediate high-stakes entry. Would he be granted an instant title shot, bypassing the legitimate contenders who have been climbing the ranks? The political ramifications alone would be immense.
sparking outrage from those who believe they earned their shot. Yet, the commercial appeal of an Ngannou title fight is undeniable, a financial windfall that could tempt the UFC to bend its own rules. The promotional machine would roar to life, selling the narrative of the King's Return, the unfinished symphony. The stylistic matchups are equally compelling. An Ngannou-Jones showdown is the ultimate dream fight, a clash of titans where tactical genius meets unparalleled brute force. Could Jones's intricate game plan withstand Ngannou's thunderous power? Would Ngannou's improved boxing and defense be enough to fend off Jones's diverse offensive arsenal? Then there's Tom Aspinall, a fighter whose speed and agility could pose unique challenges. Aspinall's ability to move, strike, and even submit could test Ngannou in ways few heavyweights ever have. This isn't just about a belt. It's about validating legacies, about proving who is truly the baddest man on the planet in an era of unprecedented talent. Ngannou, even after his boxing endeavors and PFL commitments, remains a top-tier athlete, his power arguably unmatched, his aura still radiating intimidating energy. His training footage shows a focused, even more refined fighter, adding layers to his already terrifying skill set. The predator who left was formidable. The one who could return might be even more dangerous, emboldened by his outside ventures, and perhaps even more motivated to prove his point. The logistical hurdles, however, are significant. What about his PFL contract? Are there clauses that permit a UFC return, or would this necessitate another complex negotiation and potential buyout? Would the UFC, after their contentious separation, be willing to offer the kind of terms Ngannou demanded initially? The narrative could shift from dispute to reunion, but the underlying principles that drove Ngannou away haven't vanished. His return isn't just about a fighter coming back. It's about a potential reset, a reevaluation of fighter power and promotional dynamics within the sport's biggest organization. The heavyweight division, already brimming with storylines, is bracing for a potential earthquake, a cataclysmic event that would redefine its very foundation and set the stage for fights that fans have only dared to dream about.
As if the potential return of Francis Ngannou wasn't enough to set the combat sports world alight, another colossal narrative has begun to simmer, threatening to boil over into an unprecedented superfight. This isn't about reclaiming a title. It's about forging a legacy, about challenging the very notion of what a champion can achieve. We're talking about a dream crossover, a clash of titans that would pit the reigning, dominant lightweight king, Islam Makhachev, against the indomitable spirit and legendary wrestling pedigree of former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Islam Makhachev has established himself as an almost unstoppable force in the lightweight division. Under the tutelage of Khabib Nurmagomedov and a lifetime steeped in the Dagestani wrestling tradition, he has methodically dismantled every opponent placed before him. His grappling is suffocating, his control absolute, and his striking, once considered his weakest link, has evolved into a formidable weapon capable of setting up his world-class takedowns or finishing fights on its own. His 2 victories over Alexander Volkanovski, a fighter many considered the pound-for-pound best at the time, cemented Makhachev's status not just as a lightweight champion, but as one of the elite combatants on the planet, deserving of recognition far beyond his current weight class. The question is no longer if he can dominate lightweight, but what's next for a fighter who seems to have few peers in his natural habitat. Enter Kamaru Usman. For years, the Nigerian nightmare was the epitome of welterweight dominance, an immovable object, a relentless force who systematically cleared out the entire division. His wrestling background, honed through NCAA Division II championships, translated seamlessly into the Octagon, where he blended it with an ever-improving, punishing striking game. His ground and pound was brutal, his control unwavering, and his mental fortitude legendary. Usman defended his welterweight title 5 times, securing his place among the all-time greats, until an unexpected highlight reel knockout loss to Leon Edwards momentarily derailed his reign. While he has since sought to regain his championship, the aura of his previous dominance, the sheer grit and power he brought to every fight, remains etched in the minds of fans and analysts alike. The whispers of Makhachev challenging Usman for a welterweight bout aren't just fan speculation. They represent a convergence of ambition, legacy, and pure, unadulterated competitive spirit. For Makhachev, moving up a weight class to challenge a former champion of Usman's caliber would be an audacious leap, a quest to prove his pound-for-pound superiority and emulate the multi-divisional success of his mentor, Khabib, or other legends.
For Usman, it represents an opportunity to reclaim some of his lost glory, to remind the world of his unparalleled wrestling prowess against a fighter whose grappling is lauded as some of the best in the sport, and to cement a different kind of legacy, that of a true fighting legend who faces any challenge, regardless of the opponent's current standing. The narrative surrounding this potential clash writes itself. The relentless, suffocating Dagestani grappler, currently at the peak of his powers, moving into hostile territory to challenge a former king of a heavier division, a man whose own wrestling was once considered impenetrable. It's a clash of generations, a meeting of two distinctly different, yet equally devastating grappling styles, both imbued with an unyielding will to win. The weight class difference, while significant, isn't insurmountable, especially given Makhachev's natural frame and Usman's incredible professionalism. This isn't just a fight, it's a monumental test of skill, will, and legacy, a contest that promises to redefine the boundaries of what is possible in the UFC and leave an indelible mark on the annals of combat sports history.
The allure of Islam Makhachev versus Kamaru Usman isn't merely the clash of champions or the crossing of weight classes. It's a profound tactical puzzle, a monumental stylistic collision that would test the very foundations of mixed martial arts. On paper, it presents arguably the greatest grappler in the lighter divisions against one of the most dominant and physically imposing wrestlers the welterweight class has ever seen. This isn't just about who wins, it's about how they would attempt to win and what groundbreaking strategies would emerge from such a high-stakes encounter. Islam Makhachev's grappling pedigree is rooted in the formidable sambo and wrestling traditions of Dagestan, a lineage that has produced legends. His takedowns are not simply about brute force. They are a masterclass in timing, leverage, and relentless chain wrestling. He often utilizes body locks, trips, and sweeps with surgical precision, often setting them up with feints and strikes that lure opponents into vulnerable positions. Once on the ground, his top control is suffocating, a heavy blanket that drains opponents' energy and limits their offensive options. He transitions seamlessly from guard passes to submission attempts, constantly threatening with chokes and joint locks. His striking, while perhaps not as aesthetically pleasing as some, is incredibly functional, used primarily to close distance, create openings for takedowns, and land damaging shots in the clinch. He is a high-volume, high-pressure fighter who aims to break opponents mentally and physically over the course of the fight, turning the Octagon into his personal torture chamber. His cardio is legendary, allowing him to maintain this relentless pace for all 5 rounds. Kamaru Usman, on the other hand, brings a different brand of wrestling. An NCAA Division II national champion, Usman's wrestling is incredibly powerful, defensive, and explosive. His takedowns, when he chooses to employ them, are often devastating double legs or single legs, driven by immense physical strength. However, his most formidable grappling weapon might be his takedown defense, an almost impenetrable fortress that has stifled the best wrestlers in the welterweight division. He possesses an incredible base, balance, and the strength to shrug off attempts, often reversing position or forcing opponents into prolonged, energy-sapping clinch battles against the fence, where he excels at control and short, damaging strikes. Usman's striking, developed significantly during his UFC career, is built on a powerful jab, straight punches, and damaging leg kicks, often setting up his clinch work or protecting him from incoming attacks. He is a master of pressure, utilizing a relentless forward march to back opponents against the cage, where he can unleash his formidable dirty boxing and ground and pound if the fight hits the canvas. The hypothetical matchup pits these contrasting but equally elite skill sets against each other. Could Makhachev consistently get Usman to the ground, a feat few have accomplished? Usman's defensive wrestling is legendary, and the jump in competition from lightweight to welterweight carries with it an inherent strength and size advantage that could negate some of Makhachev's leverage. Conversely, if Usman manages to keep the fight standing, can he withstand Makhachev's pressure and land enough significant strikes to deter the lightweight champion? And if Makhachev does secure a takedown, can he hold down a fighter with Usman's raw power and explosive get-ups, particularly with the added weight advantage? The clinch becomes a pivotal battleground, Usman's strength against Makhachev's technique and endurance. Analysts debate fiercely. Some argue Makhachev's technical brilliance and relentless pace would eventually overcome Usman's power, citing his proven ability to chain wrestle and adapt. Others believe Usman's sheer strength, defensive prowess, and experience at welterweight would be too much for Makhachev, forcing the lightweight champion into uncharted waters where his grappling might not be as overwhelmingly dominant. The weight factor is undeniably crucial. A few pounds can feel like an insurmountable chasm between two elite fighters. Regardless of the outcome, this fight promises a chess match of the highest order, a tactical masterpiece that would force both fighters to dig deeper than ever before, elevating the standard of martial arts and leaving an indelible mark on their respective legacies. It is a fight that simply has to happen for the purity of the sport.
While the heavyweight division grapples with the phantom menace of Ngannou's return, and the potential super fight between Makhachev and Usman captures imaginations, The lightweight division, perpetually the UFC's deepest and most unforgiving, is brewing its own storm. A fight that isn't just a clash of styles, but a potential title eliminator, a generational test, and a guaranteed barn burner. Justin the Highlight Gaethje versus Arman Ahalakalet's Tsarukyan. This isn't just another fight on the calendar, it's a pivotal moment that could redraw the map of the 155-pound landscape and decide who gets the next coveted shot at undisputed gold. Justin Gaethje needs no introduction. He is quite simply the highlight for a reason. His fighting philosophy is pure, unadulterated violence, a relentless forward pressure that leaves opponents battered, bruised, and often unconscious. His leg kicks are legendary, capable of crippling even the toughest fighters, and his hands carry fight-ending power. He's a former interim champion, a winner of countless Fight of the Night and Performance of the Night bonuses, and one of the most consistently exciting fighters to ever grace the Octagon. He holds the symbolic BMF title, a testament to his fan-favorite all-action style and his willingness to engage in wars. Despite a few setbacks in his career, Gaethje has consistently proven his resilience, his heart, and his ability to evolve, refining his wild brawling into a more calculated yet equally destructive approach. He is a gatekeeper to the very elite, a final boss that every aspiring contender must conquer to prove their mettle. On the other side stands Arman Tsarukyan, a rising phenom who has steadily, relentlessly climbed the treacherous lightweight ranks. Often hailed as a future champion, Tsarukyan possesses a rare blend of high-level wrestling, precise striking, and an almost limitless gas tank. He made his UFC debut against none other than Islam Makhachev, a fight he lost by decision but arguably gave Makhachev his toughest test to date, earning the respect of the champion himself. Since then, Tsarukyan has meticulously built an impressive winning streak, showcasing dominant performances against elite competition. His ability to blend his wrestling with dynamic striking, his intelligent use of feints, and his relentless pace have made him a nightmare matchup for virtually anyone in the division. He is a problem solver, a tactical genius in the cage, constantly adapting and exploiting weaknesses. Tsarukyan isn't just looking for a win, he's looking to make a definitive statement, to prove that his time at the top is not just approaching, but is already here. The narrative surrounding this fight is rich with implications. For Gaethje, it's about holding his ground, proving he still belongs at the very pinnacle of the division, and securing another shot at the undisputed lightweight title that has eluded him. For Tsarukyan, it's the ultimate proving ground, a chance to dispatch a true legend and solidify his position as the undeniable #1 contender. The stakes couldn't be higher, especially with the looming possibility of Islam Makhachev potentially moving up to welterweight for a super fight. If Makhachev vacates or is occupied, the winner of Gaethje Tsarukyan could very well find themselves fighting for an interim or even undisputed lightweight championship. This is a collision of an established fan-favorite legend and an unstoppable force, a fight that promises fireworks from the opening bell and could very well shape the immediate future of the UFC's most competitive division. The entire fight world is buzzing, eager to witness what promises to be an instant classic.
Delving deeper into the potential clash between Justin Gaethje and Arman Tsarukyan reveals a fascinating tapestry of contrasting philosophies and lethal skill sets, making it a compelling study in combat strategy. This isn't merely a contest of strength, it's a high-stakes chess match where every move, every feint, and every defensive adjustment could spell the difference between victory and defeat, and ultimately a shot at lightweight glory. Justin Gaethje's path to victory often involves an unrelenting, intelligent pressure. He is a master of weaponizing his aggression, cutting off the cage with precise footwork and forcing opponents to fight on his terms. His greatest weapon remains his devastating leg kicks, aimed directly at the calf, designed to compromise an opponent's mobility and power. Against Tsarukyan, who relies heavily on his movement and ability to transition between striking and grappling, these kicks could prove pivotal. If Gaethje can degrade Tsarukyan's base, he limits Arman's ability to sprawl, shoot for takedowns, or escape the pocket. Furthermore, Gaethje's power in his hands is undeniable. His looping hooks and powerful uppercuts have put away many top contenders. He also possesses an underrated wrestling defense, often choosing to scramble back to his feet rather than engage in prolonged ground exchanges. For Gaethje, the strategy would likely involve forcing a high-paced stand-up war, relying on his legendary chin, explosive power, and unwavering cardio to break Tsarukyan's resolve and expose any defensive vulnerabilities. Arman Tsarukyan, on the other hand, presents a multifaceted challenge. His strength lies in his seamless blend of high-level wrestling and increasingly dangerous striking. Tsarukyan's wrestling isn't just defensive, it's offensively potent, allowing him to dictate where the fight takes place.
Against a power striker like Gaethje, Arman's ability to time reactive takedowns or even shoot proactively after landing a combination will be crucial. Getting Gaethje to the canvas, even briefly, can disrupt his rhythm, drain his energy, and accumulate control time that scores points. On the feet, Tsarukyan employs sharp, precise boxing, often mixing up his targets to the head and body. He has excellent head movement and footwork, allowing him to evade Gaethje's heavy shots and counter effectively. His pace is relentless, often outworking opponents over 3 rounds with sheer volume and consistent pressure. For Tsarukyan, the ideal path to victory would be to frustrate Gaethje on the feet with movement and feints, chip away with strikes, and then capitalize on opportunities to take the fight to the mat, where he can inflict damage, control position, and ultimately seek a submission or a decision win through superior control and output. The critical junctures of this fight will be fascinating to observe. Can Gaethje land enough debilitating leg kicks early to slow Tsarukyan down? If Tsarukyan gets a takedown, can he hold Gaethje down, or will the highlight explosively scramble back to his feet? What happens in the clinch, where both men possess significant strength and technique? Will Gaethje's kill or be killed mentality clash with Tsarukyan's more measured yet equally aggressive technical approach? The potential for a fight of the year contender is immense, not just for the action, but for the strategic depth it promises. With Islam Makhachev's future at lightweight potentially uncertain due to superfight ambitions, the winner of Gaethje-Tsarukyan could find themselves in pole position for the next title shot, making the stakes astronomically high. This fight isn't just about entertainment, it's about defining the next chapter of the lightweight division, with 2 incredible athletes pushing the boundaries of what it means to be an elite contender.
The world of mixed martial arts is a delicate ecosystem, where one significant event can trigger a cascade of consequences, altering trajectories and reshaping futures across multiple divisions. The rumors and potential matchups we've discussed, Francis Ngannou's monumental return, Islam Makhachev's audacious challenge to Kamaru Usman, and the lightweight war between Justin Gaethje and Arman Tsarukyan aren't isolated events. They are interconnected threads in a grand tapestry, each capable of unleashing a profound domino effect that would redefine the UFC landscape for years to come. Consider the sheer impact of Ngannou's return to the heavyweight division. If he comes back, the immediate question is his opponent. Does he get an instant shot at Jon Jones, creating perhaps the biggest heavyweight superfight in UFC history? This would undoubtedly push the long-awaited Jones-Miocic fight further into the periphery, or even cancel it entirely. What then happens to Tom Aspinall, the interim champion, who has rightfully earned his shot at undisputed gold? Does he wait in line, or does the UFC pit him against another top contender to keep him active? Ngannou's presence alone would send shockwaves through the entire top 10, forcing every contender to reevaluate their path to the title. Fighters like Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, and Jailton Almeida would suddenly face an even more crowded and unpredictable hierarchy, their carefully planned ascensions thrown into disarray. The financial implications for the UFC would be massive, but so too would be the managerial headaches and the sheer political maneuvering required to satisfy all parties. Now overlay this with the potential Makhachev-Usman superfight. If Islam Makhachev moves up to welterweight, even for a single bout, it creates a monumental ripple in the lightweight division. The 155-pound weight class, already arguably the deepest in the sport, would suddenly find its champion momentarily absent. Who then steps up? This is where the Gaethje-Tsarukyan fight becomes even more critical. The winner of that class would become the undeniable leading contender for an interim lightweight title, or even potentially the undisputed belt if Makhachev's move to welterweight becomes more permanent, or he is sidelined for an extended period. Fighters like Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, and Beneil Dariush, who are all vying for title contention, would see their own paths drastically altered by Makhachev's ambitions. The lightweight division, typically defined by its clear hierarchy, would descend into a thrilling, albeit chaotic, scramble for supremacy. And the effect wouldn't stop there. Kamaru Usman's involvement in a super fight with Makhachev would also have ramifications for the welterweight division. While he is no longer the champion, Usman remains a top contender. If he were to engage in a non-title fight at a catchweight or even at welterweight with Makhachev, it could further delay his own pursuit of the 170-pound title against current champion Leon Edwards or another top contender like Shavkat Rakhmonov or Colby Covington. The welterweight division, already one of the most exciting, would experience a temporary shift in focus as one of its biggest stars embarks on a crossover challenge. This complex interplay of potential matchups creates an atmosphere of unprecedented excitement and unpredictability. It highlights the dynamic nature of the UFC, where legacies are forged and shattered with every decision. Dana White and the UFC matchmakers would face an unenviable yet thrilling task of navigating these interconnected storylines, balancing commercial appeal with competitive integrity. The fans, however, would be the ultimate beneficiaries, witnessing a series of potential super fights and pivotal divisional clashes that would undoubtedly shape the narrative of mixed martial arts for years to come. This isn't just about individual fights, it's about the entire ecosystem holding its breath, waiting for the first domino to fall and unleash a cascade of unforgettable moments.
As we stand on the precipice of what could be one of the most transformative periods in UFC history, the air is thick with anticipation, crackling with the electricity of possibility. The rumors of Francis Ngannou's return are more than just whispers. They are a direct challenge to the established order, a thunderous echo from the past that promises to shake the very foundations of the heavyweight division. His comeback would not be a mere re-entry, it would be a revolution, igniting dream matchups against legends like Jon Jones and rising stars like Tom Aspinall, creating narratives that transcend sport and enter the realm of combat mythology. The predator returning to his hunting grounds is a story almost too grand to be true, yet one that tantalizes every fight fan with its sheer, explosive potential. Simultaneously, the tantalizing prospect of Islam Makhachev squaring off against Kamaru Usman represents the ultimate quest for legacy, a fearless dive into uncharted waters for a champion who has seemingly conquered his own division. This isn't just a super fight, it's a statement, a strategic masterpiece in the making, where two of the sport's most dominant grapplers would test their mettle in a clash of unparalleled skill and will. It's the kind of fight that defines an era, leaving an indelible mark on the pound-for-pound rankings and sparking endless debates for generations to come. The courage of both men to even consider such a challenge speaks volumes about their championship spirit and their desire to etch their names in the pantheon of fighting greats. And beneath these colossal, potentially history-making encounters, the relentless churn of the lightweight division continues, highlighted by the inevitable fireworks of Justin Gaethje versus Arman Tsarukyan. This isn't just a fight for bragging rights, it's a high-stakes chess match with explosive potential, a guaranteed war that will determine the next contender in the UFC's most unforgiving weight class. The winner will emerge not just victorious, but battle-tested and ready to challenge for the ultimate prize, fueling the division's reputation for producing non-stop action and legitimate title threats. Each of these scenarios, independent yet interwoven, represents a pivotal moment, a crossroads that will shape the immediate and long-term future of the UFC. This unique confluence of events, a returning king, a champion seeking new conquests, and top contenders battling for supremacy, paints a vivid picture of a sport operating at its absolute peak. It's a testament to the unpredictable nature of combat sports, where narratives shift overnight and legends are forged in moments of daring. The fans, the lifeblood of this incredible spectacle, are not merely observers, they are participants in the collective anticipation, their voices fueling the speculation, their excitement demanding these monumental matchups. Social media buzzes, forums erupt, and every casual conversation turns to the endless what-ifs that these possibilities present. The UFC has always thrived on its ability to deliver the unexpected, to transform whispers into roaring spectacles, and to consistently push the boundaries of athletic achievement. If even a fraction of these rumored fights come to fruition, we are on the verge of an era unlike any we have witnessed before. The potential for groundbreaking, legacy-defining contests is immense, promising an unprecedented level of excitement and a definitive answer to who truly stands at the pinnacle of various divisions. The future of the UFC isn't just exciting, it's explosive. It's a testament to the enduring power of human competition, where ambition knows no bounds and the pursuit of greatness drives every fiber of these extraordinary athletes. We stand ready, breathless with anticipation, for the moment these dreams become reality, for the first domino to fall, and for the next unforgettable chapter in the ongoing saga of the Ultimate Fighting Championship to begin. The fuse has been lit. Now we just wait for the inevitable detonation.